Jeannie, a fascinating question to which I'm not sure I know the answer. You want to know, I guess, a bit like human beings, do they eat less when it's hot? Jeannie, I don't think they eat less when it's hot. I think that they eat probably as much, but they certainly have to drink a bit more. I'm just trying to think. I mean, the reason you would eat more when it's cold is because, or many animals will eat more when it's cold, is because they need to maintain body temperature. Now, an elephant, of course, is an enormous thing, and maintaining body temperature, if you're that big, is not that hard. So, you know, when it's cold and when it's hot, I don't think it makes an enormous amount of difference as to what they eat. Certainly, they will drink more when it's hot like this. Look at that eye covered in beautiful mud mascara there. Gracie, hello. You're 8, of course, in Ohio, and you're very appreciative of the elephants that we have shown you. My pleasure, Gracie. I'm very glad that Andrew and I could bring you your elephants. And you say it makes you feel better and you like to cuddle with them. And do I think they would mind your being or moving with them? Gracie, I think for most people, they would not like it at all. But I think for you, these big elephant bulls would probably make an exception. I think they would definitely like to move around with you for a little while. I'm not sure about the cuddle though, Gracie. I think cuddling a 14,000-pound elephant bull is perhaps pushing it a little bit far. I just thought I heard a monkey alarm calling. We are, of course, fully in Shadow's domain over here. It would be very nice to see her slinking out from the undergrowth to the eastern side of the water, but I have not seen her slinking out from the undergrowth to the eastern side of the water. What a wonderful scene this is. And often, you know, if I go to a bush place and people say, well, why don't you want to go on game drive? And this is normally if I'm, I don't know, doing a talk or playing a guitar or something or like that, I normally refuse, because if it's sitting in front of a water hole like this, there's nothing more peaceful and more wonderful in the world than to sit on a deck with your favorite snifter, a good book, an excellent pair of binoculars, unlike the ones I own, and looking at what comes down to drink, the birds, the animals or the mammals, and just sucking in the atmosphere of the silence of a beautiful bushveld afternoon. A question through here from Big Dave. Hello, Big Dave. You want to know where the water came from in the Arathusa Dam. I don't think they pump it. I think it's largely rainwater. I think it would have, you know, we're kind of in a marshy area here, big dam wall, and I think that over the years, there have been a couple of very good rain years of late, and I think you'll find that it's filled up naturally through flow down the drainage line that empties into this, and I mean, it carries on down the way. You can see the big trees over the top of the dam wall there, and they line a sort of dry stream or dry riverbed down towards the western side there. So I think that's just natural flow. They might pump it a little bit, but I don't think so. Right, well, I feel like the sighting is drawing to a close, don't you, Andrew? I think we'll press on from here. It has been the most incredible sighting here. I'm going to take a moment to just suck it in and appreciate it, and we'll hand you over to Jamie while I do that, and see you in a little while.
Well, here's a mystery for you. And it is a mystery I don't have an answer to. Why on earth is the Signala eating this tree? What on earth is so attractive about this dead tree with dried brown leaves that he's after? Isn't that fascinating? There's a green tree right next to him, and yet He's munching on not only dried leaves, but dried silver cluster leaves, which have those, well, maybe there's an explanation, which has that astringent effect that sucks away all of the saliva in your mouth. We've demonstrated a couple of times before. Maybe he's got sore gums or something. I don't know. It's not the first time I've ever seen it, but it is something that I have no explanation for. I'm open to suggestions as to why you think a spectacular male bull like this gentleman, and he really is beautiful. Oh, we're going to do a bit of a horn thrash just to demonstrate how manly he is, or what would you call it? Maybe masculine, that's the word I'm looking for. Thank you, Kirsty, in Final Control. If masculine was the word I was looking for. And he is stunning. Definitely one of the most attractive of all of the antelope species. And interestingly enough, I've come through, is he limping a little bit? He doesn't look, not walking with the usual grace of the antelope. He's almost a little bit knock-kneed at the back in reverse. But yes, interestingly enough, this is one of the first antelope that Brian and myself have seen while you were with James and those elephants. And I think the reason behind that, and why it's so quiet around here, is I actually think it's in response to the wild dogs. Now, this is the area that the wild dogs moved through early this morning, and they raced all the way around here, and they probably, although we weren't on this road in particular, you'll probably find that they would have come across to the side. But I guess that's why it is. I'm going to shift forward a bit. Let's see if we get another view of that gorgeous Nyala and his lady friends. Fly, please don't clown in my ear. Thank you. Darlene, while we approach our antelope, I've been giving some more thought to my favorite sounds in the bush, and I'm starting to get to the point. That might be the nicest view. I'm sort of starting a short list of my favorite sounds, which include, in no particular order, hyenas whooping, wild dogs calling. I'm going to then say the call of a pearl-spotted owlet, that hey, look, my lips are managing to whistle. The whistle's working again. The call of a barking gecko that you don't get here, but you do get in the Kalahari. Nice view of the Nyala female. You can see the real color difference, particularly in this afternoon sun. So vastly different that ill-informed tourists often think that they're completely separate species, the male and the female Nyala. And now the question becomes, what goes into my fifth and final spot of my favorite bush sounds? And I think I'm going to... Oh, I nearly said something really corny. I'm not going to say it. I nearly said Brent's voice, but that's terribly tragic. No, Brian's not enjoying it at all. In fact, I'm surprised Brian didn't have a little gag in the back there. No, we'll go with lions roaring. I will say lions roaring. When they're right next to you, it's a sound that travels through your chest and is definitely an awe-inspiring feeling, particularly at night, where you've got this instinct that tells you that you're no longer the top predator. And all of a sudden, at night time, when we lose our advantage of our sight and our bipedal stance, that makes us the apex predator of the day. Thousands and thousands of years of evolution has made us apex diurnal predators, but all of a sudden when a lion roars next to you at night, there's that little part of your ancient instincts that curls up a little bit. Not necessarily fear, because of course we can rationalize it and know that we're totally safe, but it's still an interesting, and I wonder when antelope species like these Nyala hear that call, I wonder if it fills them with that same sense of intimidation. of animals and their responses to the different sounds of the bush. Bill would like to know, different animals respond to different alarm calls? How exactly how does that sort of communication system within the bush, how does that play out? And Bill, it's actually an interesting one. We saw that giraffe earlier, and I'm almost certain that she was listening to that squirrel. And I've seen lots and lots of creatures respond with a squirrel or something of a similar vein. Squirrels tend to be quite alarmist. Although I suppose when you're this big, fluffy, and on everybody's menu, maybe it makes sense to be alarmist. But they alarm call for jennets, they alarm call for snakes, for birds of prey, things that are not really a threat to the antelope species, but they also alarm call for a leopard or a lion. So it makes sense for the antelope species to stop and listen. But when something like an impala goes bah, or a nyala or a kudu barks in alarm, that is when everything goes instantly into high alert and starts to look around. And it makes total sense not to run, not to dash off because you